Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about the drying process. What is drying? How it is different from the evaporation? The basics of the drying? What are the significance and applications of the drying? All these things we are going to discuss today. So let's start with the same. So before we start anything else, let's learn about the definition of the drying. So definition says that the removal of relatively small amount of water. So over here you can see that it is talking about the small amount of water or other liquid from a material by application of heat. So when you are going to write down the definition, you must mention the small amount of water will be removed by application of heat. So that is what the drying is. We are going to remove water which is present in the material or any other liquid which is present in the material, and that we are going to remove it by the application of heat. That is drying. But if drying is removal of water or liquid, so what is evaporation? And if evaporation is different than the drying, so what are the differences? So here you can see the difference between the evaporation and drying. So with the evaporation, in that we are going to remove a larger amount of water. But as discussed in the definition of drying, we are going to remove a small amount of water which is present in a solid material. So that is what the drying is. Evaporation is going to yield a concentrated thick syrupy liquid. Matlab, thick syrupy liquid we are going to get. Whereas in the drying, the whatever the yield is, that is a solid product that is free from the water or other solvent. In the evaporation, removal of water is done by boiling the solution, whereas in the drying, removal of water, it is done at the temperature below its boiling point. So we are not going to make the solvent or water present in the in that particular material to get boiled. In the evaporation, water is removed as a pure water vapor, which is then going to mix with the other gases. Whereas in the drying process, water is removed by circulating the hot air upon the same, upon the material which we want to get dry. And that air is going to carry away the water vapor which is present in the material. Evaporation might not be the final stage, but yes, for most of the pharmaceutical product manufacturing, the drying is a final stage. So these are the differences between the evaporation and drying, and it's a most important question which could be asked in the examination. So after seeing the difference between the evaporation and drying, can you identify which process is this one? Yes, it's a drying process. That cartoon is drying its hair. Second process is the evaporation. The water is going to get evaporated from the sea or river. Third one is the evaporation as well. Over here, if you can imagine the blue dot as a solvent or water, then blue dots are more than the red dot. So red dot is a solid, whereas others is a liquid. So more amount of liquid is there, so it's a evaporation process. And the last one, definitely that skull is drying its hand. Usually the drying process is the last stage of the process, as we have discussed in the difference between the evaporation and drying. So drying means a complete dryness or condition known as a air dry. So when there is a complete dryness, will be air dried process. So in that, no liquid will be present. So liquid medium, this particular liquid medium which is present in the solid, it can be removed mechanically or thermally. Mechanically, it can be removed by using the filter press or centrifuge, whereas thermally, it can be removed by the vaporization process. But usually the mechanical method is cheaper than the thermal method. When we are doing the drying process, it is usually advisable to remove the most of the liquid before we start the drying process. So it is going to ultimately going to reduce the cost of the drying process. So drying is possible in unsaturated environment only. So this particular thing you need to keep in mind, that drying process is only possible when there is an unsaturated environment. So humidity is a very important determinant for the drying of any particular solid. The methods used for the drying is a thermal method or non-thermal method. Thermal method, in that we are going to use the heat, whereas in non-thermal method the freeze drying technique can be used. Now let's see the importance or significance of drying in the pharmaceutical company. So this drying process is usually carried out for more than one reason. First one is to avoid or eliminate moisture, which may lead to corrosion and decrease the product or drug stability. So if water will be there or any kind of solvent will be there, it might cause the corrosion to the product or might degrade the product, or it might cause the corrosion to the equipments in which we are going to produce our or manufacture our product. Second importance is that with the drying process, it could be helpful to improve the good properties of our material. The good properties may include the flowability and compressibility. Not only this, to reduce the cost of transportation of larger volume of materials containing liquids, it is helpful that drying could be done. To make the material easy or more suitable for handling, the drying could be helpful. And drying could also serve as a preservative for any particular kind of material. So if no water will be there, it will the shelf life of that particular product can be increased. So it will work as a preservative. Moving towards the application. The applications are nearly similar to the importance which we have seen earlier. So the first application is the preparation of bulk drugs. So in the preparation of bulk drugs, this drying process is usually the final stage. For example, preparation of dried aluminum hydroxide, dry lactose, powdered extract, all these drugs could be prepared in this drying process is there as a final stage. So drying is essential after crystallization and filtration kind of operations. Next application is preservation of drug products. So to avoid degradation, deterioration, drying is very much necessary because present amount of water or solvent may degrade or deteriorate our product. So examples include the crude drugs of animals or vegetable origin. They can be dried and then it will be having a more stability or having a more shelf life. The chemical decomposition might be there if the water will be present. Blood products might grow the microbes. So for the same, the blood products could be dried. And synthetic or semi-synthetic products, in that if frozen water or a solvent will be present, it may cause the chemical decomposition. So if product is dried before it's going to get packed, it will serve as a preservative. Not only this, but to improve the characteristic, as we have discussed in the significance part of the drying process, it also this drying process is helpful to improve the characteristic of our particular dried product. So drying produces a material of spherical shape. They are uniform in size, they are free flowing, and it will also enhance the solubility. The example is viscous and sticky material, which are not free flowing. So if we are going to dry the same, it will become a little bit free flowing. So drying modifies this kind of characteristic in oleoresins, malt extracts, etc. Next application is improved handling. If we are going to remove the moisture from the material, so that material will going to get lighter in weight and reduces its bulk. Thus, cost of transportation will be also decreased and storage will be more efficient. So if moisture is present in any particular material, the size reduction of drug will be difficult. So because of the same, to handle the handle the material properly, we need to dry that particular product which is having a higher amount of moisture. So that is all about the basics of the drying. I hope you understand, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you so much.